Good morning students and welcome to the class of Geography. We were studying chapter 4 Geomorphic processes and landforms of the earth, and we had already finished studying important topics such as the plate tectonic theory, and we had studied the three types of mountains, which are fold mountains, volcanic mountains and block mountains. In today's class we'll be studying about residual or relic mountains. Residual or relic mountains are not formed by a certain process just as the other three mountains. What I mean to say is that the fold mountains are formed by the convergence or divergence of tectonic plates. The volcanic mountains are formed by the eruption of lava on the Earth's surface, and block mountains are formed by the separation of blocks of Earth. What happens? This is not the same in the case of residual mountains or relic mountains. They are not formed by any process, but they are simply a result of erosion and denudation of old fold mountains. Fold mountains, as we know, are very huge and their peaks are pointed. However, the peak of residual mountain is not pointed, it is rather curved. This is the result of erosion. What happens if for many years a mountain is standing due to many factors such as weather, heat, cold, running water and even snowfall? What happens due to these factors, the peak of the mountain is eroded, and therefore it is no longer a pointed peak but it converts into a curved form. It takes a curved form. This is known as erosion of mountains. Now relic mountains are, they are the remnants of old fold mountains. Remnants means remains. After erosion of fold mountains, whatever landform remains is known as residual or relic mountains. Now these mountains are formed by erosion and denudation of landforms. Mountains and plateaus are eroded due to the heat of the sun and activities such as wind, frost and running water. These are the main activities which cause the erosion and denudation of fold mountains. Due to such activities, the soft surface are eroded away and only the very hard surface of rocks are left on the landforms. Now, the activities, the factors which affect the fold mountains, the soft surface are only eroded away. However, the leftover means the remnants are the hardest part of rocks, which the wind, the heat and the running water was unable to erode. Now these very hard rocks which are left, they are not being able to be eroded due to the activities such as the heat of the sun or wind and frost. However, the soft part of the rocks of the mountains, they were eroded away. These resistant rocks that have not been eroded away are called relic mountains. So please copy this in your geography copy, and this is the definition that you can learn. They are called residual because residue means left out. Since only the hard rocks are left out after erosion, therefore they are also known as residual mountains. Copy this also. The examples of residual landforms or mountains is, the first one is Eastern Ghats. As you can see that certain these parts which are uneven, which are eroded, they are eroded away by the factors such as wind and heat, and only the hardest rocks were left out. The second example is the Aravalis of relic mountains, and the third important example is the Nilgiris. Now there are also certain features, landforms which are important, which come under the residual mountains, and you don't have such good definitions for these landforms, so it is better that you learn them from here, and please copy this as you understand it. Mesas are formed by erosion when water washes smaller and softer type of rocks away from the top of a hill. So what happens, a hill which eventually gets eroded by water, and the strong durable rock which remains on the top of the mesa is called cap rock. A mesa is usually steep sided, as you can see, and it is flat at the top like a table. Mesas are usually found in dry regions where rock layers are horizontal. So what happens basically, a hill is continuously eroded, and then it becomes like it takes the shape of a table which has very steep sides. These are found as mesas. Now these are mainly found in the United States. Second, we have Butte. A Butte is an isolated, I'm not sure how is it pronounced, I think it's Butte. A Butte is pronounced as an isolated a butte is an isolated hill with steep, often vertical sides and a small, relatively flat top. Buttes are smaller landforms than mesas. What happens when these mesas, they are further eroded, they are again eroded due to the weather factors, they result into the formation of butte. As you can see, butte and mesas, they look very alike, but butte are comparatively smaller than mesas. So as you can see, this whole hill was first transformed into a mesa, and then it was transformed into a butte. Butte has vertical sides and a small, relatively flat top. Not completely flat, but relatively flat. Next we have Inselberg. Please copy the definitions as you are understanding. Inselberg are remnants of upland areas formed of resistant crystalline rocks. So these are residual hills. Inselbergs are nothing but residual hills, very smooth curve, and they are also formed on a very smooth plane surface. Inselbergs are nothing but small hills formed of resistant crystalline rocks. Resistant means very hard rocks. Next we have Monadnocks, and in Monadnocks is just another name for Inselberg. So in exam, if they ask you what are Monadnocks, you can write the definition of Inselberg. Last, which is not in your syllabus but an important topic, canyon. What is a canyon? A canyon is a type of landform with extremely large valleys with very deep sides. What happens? Canyons are deep valleys. They are very, when a valley is very large in size, they are known as canyons, and they are very steep sided. The sides of the canyons are very steep. This is how a basic canyon looks like. When a river cuts through resistant rocks, as you can see, the river has paved its way through the resistant rocks to form a steep walled, deep V-shaped valley. It results in the formation of a canyon. So please copy this, it can come in your exam. And the last topic we have today is features of relic mountains. Residual mountains are formed from already existing mountains that are reduced and lowered, therefore they are usually low. And the slopes of residual mountains are gentle. So the residual mountains, they are not formed by any process, as I told earlier. They are just reduced and lowered. They are just eroded from bigger mountains. So therefore they are usually low than the mountains. Of course, if something forms from another thing, if something is eroded, suppose if you have an eraser and you continuously rub it in your copy, it will become smaller. So in the same way, when fold mountains are eroded, they become comparatively smaller. Next, from your book, if you follow, we have the slopes of residual mountains are gentle due to the erosional activities. They are composed of hard resistant rocks, and the left out mountains of the residue of the fold mountains, they are formed of hard resistant rocks, because of which they were unable to be eroded. And lastly, the top of a residual mountains is rounded, unlike high mountains, with sharp peaks. This was already explained. So that will be all for today, and in the next class I'll be giving you assignments on this chapter. And before that, I'm asking you, all of you, to show me all the notes that you have prepared on this chapter. Whatever I have made you understand, and throughout the video whatever I told you to write, I want to see that in your geography copy. So just click a pic and send it to me on my email address, this one. And those who have not done it, this is the time, please do it. All the notes that I have prepared are important, and show it to me. And in the next class I'll be giving you some assignments which should be completed, and I'll give you the further instructions in the assignment only. So thank you, and that will be all for today.